Jody Williams.
Mr. Espey, good morning. How you doing?
Doing good. Today's show brought to you by Monster Energy because I'm tired today, but not as tired as you, my friend. I don't have an
Yes.
excuse.
When you've been up for 25 hours, you tend to get delirious. You kind of lose track of what day it is, but I'm okay now.
Yeah, so I mentioned in the show notes I wanted to do the WAF IFA moment because I am increasingly frustrated as things go on in time and how there seems to be more and more of a divide happening in my own country. But I reached out to some people today and learned that yet another referee has now been banned simply for refereeing IFA competitors at a national championship in Europe. And that's about all I'm going to say about that for now. But
Well,
it
before we get
baffles me that an organization that is trying to grow arm wrestling is the one that keeps preventing people from competing, yet at the same time, they're gaining traction, it seems. And you know what gaslighting is, Jody?
Oh yeah.
Well, there seems to be a lot of that going on. There's a great big shiny prize at the end of some imaginary path for a lot of these countries being offered up. And it simply seems to be to gain traction in these countries. But,
It's sad about that.
Yeah.
Did you see my if you saw my Facebook post that Denise put out on my page, and it said the reason of the IFA WAF split, and it was Marson, picture of Marson.
I saw that.
And he, of course, he commented and said, "Wow, I'm gonna be popular again." I'm thinking, what are we doing, people?
Yeah. It's a little bit nuts to me that this is still going on. But it seems like WAF is the reason that IFA is staying around because of the stuff that people don't want to be involved in and the values that are a little bit different over in the other organization. Because I think if WAF wasn't doing a lot of the things they were doing, there would be no need for IFA.
Right. But it's unfortunate because, like I said before, and we've had talks about this, and I know how everything. And before we go any further, everybody in the chat, good morning, welcome to the show. Please do not forget to like and subscribe.
Oh yeah,
because we got a lot to get to. So
we do have a lot to get to. So we should move on from this.
You and I could chat about that off the air or whatever.
I'm gonna do 2 minutes on it every show because I want people to stay in the loop. But before we get into East versus West 7, do you want to talk quickly about the match between Lachlan and Meadow Orangi?
Yes. The buildup was good. I mean, for me, because I don't know how often Bowen promoted this match, but I was very intrigued about it. And I'm thinking, all right, here we go. That's how you start your Saturday on the day of East versus West. You kick things off with a match between two studs, one from New Zealand, one from Australia. I'm thinking, all right, let's do this thing. And then I don't know if y'all saw it out there, but when it was all said and done, I was like, damn, Saturday was the pinnacle of one-sided.
I have a couple of opinions about that. I think it would have been a lot less one-sided if that referee knew how to do a referee's grip.
Oh God, he was getting. I don't want to. I know we're sensitive.
We live in a world. Well, Lachlan is particularly sensitive when someone criticizes him, and this is not his fault. He did his job. No. But he's getting that cup every time in the referee's grip before they go. And Meadow Orangi's only path to victory was a top roll. And he could get that wrist, but oftentimes it was too late, and Lachlan was in a press.
Meta got, and this is not his fault. I don't know. He got raped I hate to use that term, but he got worked in the setup. Now, if I'm Meta Harangi and I feel shit's not really, not going right, I'm gonna say something. I did in my match. Oh, go ahead.
Brings me to that. And that's an excellent point, because we had the provincial championships in Manitoba last weekend. And I
Yes.
saw so many times the guys would go to the table and they would get absolutely screwed on something that was happening, but won't open their goddamn mouth to say anything about it and get pissed off after the fact. You have to be your own advocate when you're at that table. You have the extreme of that, which is Devin Laird. He will tell the ref everything he thinks he's doing wrong and then make some shit up along the way for smoke and mirrors.
Right.
But a lot of guys won't say a word to the referees when they're setting up. They'll just take what they're given and complain about it later. You have to say something.
Did you see my match with Daniel Worley at the Monster Factory?
Yep.
So how many times, and it's like everybody in the chat, if y'all saw it, he was doing everything in the setup. And I'm not really getting on Daniel Worley, but this goes back to the referee, Ryan, because for some reason in Florida, those guys down there, I don't know what referees down in Florida are certified. Okay. So with that being said, those guys are used to going down there, getting what they want, Instead of being here, somebody's like way up here, and oh no, it's even. We're good. Where Daniel will kind of come in there and do his little shenanigans, and he's like that, like, oh yeah, my wrist is flat. But yeah, but look, you're not center of the table either, And for me, I knew I was getting in there. If you notice, match 2, I didn't even pull. I just let him have it.
Yeah.
But by the time I was said and done, and Luke tightened the strap, my hand went from here to there as he tightened it. I'm not pulling like this. So provincials, I wasn't there, but you saw it. I mean, you have to advocate for yourself. You know what I mean?
And Billy, I'm actually wasn't talking about you, Billy, but yes, you were a good example of that, because I think that you actually pinned a guy and they missed it, but I don't think you would have got anywhere by complaining. I'm talking about in the lead up to before the referee says go. One of my teammates was really getting pushed off center in a really bad way, and was very upset about it later and pulled the ref aside later, but it's too late at that point. Too late. Do it in the moment. But I mean, the Lachlan thing, Meta should have said some more stuff before that go was said, and Lachlan was just doing his job and looked pretty dominant doing it.
Well, one more thing to touch base on that. So if you see that, shouldn't some of that fall on the corner guys of Meta? Because I'm thinking your corner guys can see some stuff. I know if Meta Harangi's not going to say anything, as a responsibility as your corner guy, look, watch out for this. He's doing this, he's doing that, because there's some things your corner man can see that you can't, and there's some things that you can feel that your corner man cannot. So this is where after each match, you guys get together, say, look, this is what I'm feeling. What's he doing? And then we come up with a different game plan for the next match.
Yeah.
And it seemed like that none of that took place.
And Meta is just a humongous individual who is quite a bit taller than Lachlan. But when they set up at the table, they looked like they were the same height. Like Meta was like setting up with his body really low. Like it was almost like he was extended.
And that opens you up automatically.
Yeah.
Unless you have that elbow to the front of the pad. If I'm ducking like this, right, then go ahead and shove that elbow to the front of the pad. Now all of a sudden it's hard to do that as opposed to that,
Yeah, that man needs a coach.
And when he figures it out, it's over. But then again, if he's the best already in New Zealand,
Yeah. Well, are you ready?
Yeah, let's go. And
let's go with what were you going to say there, Jody?
I was going to say apologies to everybody. I had a rough weekend. I didn't get a chance to see not one damn match. So,
well, I'll tell you what. I bought the pay-per-view last night and watched it. And I skipped a lot of the interviews just so I could get to the matches because, I don't care to see, Coach Ray translating a whole bunch of interviews. I wanted to see the meat and potatoes. I heard Fraser works wonders for online coaching too. One of his guys who we're going back to provincials here. Joe Nelson just made a comment. Fraser's next level coaching. Matt Sador wins the provincial championships, right arm super heavyweight, dominant fashion. And before that, he had a lot of competition here. Now he seems to have surpassed that. But onward to East versus West. Watched it. I have the match list in front of me. I have the 11 matches that are on the match list. But the one that is not on this list was Mindaugas Tarasitis.
Right.
And his opponent, and the name escapes me.
Oleg,
yes. That was the one that's not on this list that was added late.
Yes.
What can you say? Pretty dominant. And this is the theme of there's a lot of dominant matches, but North America didn't win a single super match. It wasn't a blowout because as we go through these, there were moments as it was described in other shows.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll just go from the bottom of my list up. Daniel Prokopchuk versus Doug Ehrlich. Not close. Well, okay, a little bit close. Maybe Doug had Daniel kind of schooled him.
It's one of those things where what's the old saying goes, looks can be deceiving.
Yep.
Now, on paper, the face-off, I know there's a couple of photos out there circulating where Daniel is standing next to Doug, and I'm thinking, damn, Doug's a big dude. And if you saw the press conference, same thing, and I'm thinking, all right, Doug, let's do this, man, because he blew everybody's mind when he beat Coach Ray. So I'm thinking, all right, we got something going. We got the guys, we got the Paul Lynn, RVJ, Doug Ehrlich crew. Thinking, all right, we're gonna make some stuff happen. I was excited going into this, and all day, as you know, Ryan, before we got live on the show, I kind of told you why I didn't get a chance to see the event because I was just so busy doing with this, that, and the other. And then when I saw the results, I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, my body is still numb.
Hey, just because Stax is pointing it out to you here.
I think the only one I got right was Mindaugas.
And then we got Doug had the odd moment, but I'll tell you who didn't have a moment, who did not have a moment. And I'm not here. It was the theme here too. Like it seemed to be all of the East guys were putting their elite, smaller guys against the West guys who were slightly bigger. You know what I'm saying? Like the North American guys looked like the bigger men at the table in most of these matches. And Adam Wierzinski versus Bacho Saganashvili was one of those matches. And that was not a close match.
A kick in the stomach. I don't even know. Like I said, I can't say a whole lot. I didn't see the matches. I just know that I know one thing. I know Cody Merritt outweighed his opponent by 100 pounds, and that didn't go the right way.
Bacho, my God. He looked pretty scary, man. And I think they're going to have to be very careful if they can even put him back into an East versus West scenario, because who would you match him with?
Well, honestly, I mean, if you notice, though, not all matches are East versus West because there's a couple East versus East matches. So it may have to be something like that.
Well, I don't know, man. That's I don't know. Over here, to pick someone from here, it would almost have to be another European. But it was a pretty dominant performance. But now we have a bit of a little bit of a closer match because we're jumping into Alexander Muratov versus Cody Merritt. Now, Cody definitely had some moments.
Yeah.
He was able to get into a high post position a couple of times and held off the pin. But ultimately lost 3-0.
What did he weigh?
Cody or his opponent?
His opponent.
I have no idea, but I think he was actually he originally pulls in a lower weight class. But I don't know what he ended up weighing. 360. Crunchy Crackers.
I'm assuming Merritt weighs 360.
Merritt might have been 360.
Oh, so Jay Clean
So
says
103 kilos. So let me convert that for all the
was
people.
that 227? 228?
226.6.
Damn.
Damn.
So is the Georgian team the equivalent of the ladies Sweden team now?
Well, hold on a sec though, because Dan Woodley says Merritt needs to get angry at the table. Perhaps. But then you see the Georgians going through everybody, and you get to a match later on, and I picked this one right, but we'll get to it a bit later.
Okay.
And of course, I'm talking about when Georgia goes up against Kazakhstan.
Yeah. Yeah. All that. Yeah. MVP of he might be the face of East versus West.
Yeah. Joe Nelson says, I don't know if my eyes deceived me, but you notice all the pins were called really shallow if they weren't flash pins until the Paul versus Sasho match? Maybe I was being biased. I didn't notice that, Joe. I didn't notice that. The only call that I really had a problem with, I'll get to later in the finale. There was one call that might have changed the outcome of that match. And you'll be surprised when you hear what I have to say about it. Zurab.
Who?
Zurab versus RVJ is next.
Oh.
Now, RVJ had some moments. These were not blowouts, despite the 3-0 finish. RVJ held him off. RVJ looked okay in that environment. He's coming off of a long layoff, went in there against a guy that's very active and a killer, and the match was good and entertaining. But 3-0.
Dan Woolley says, why is RVJ throwing himself into these matches with so much time off?
Because they pay very well.
Because he took a lot of time off before his match with Sasho at Arm Wars, and that went, to hell, where Sasho beat RVJ 6-0. Took some more time off. There's that little RVJ Ryan Bowen that had built up, and then that kind of dissolved. And now we got this one where I'm thinking, oh, okay, RVJ and Zurab. And I'm thinking, all right, let's do this. And next thing you know, it's like, what the hell? I really thought this is probably the most confident I felt about this version of the Team West, because I was intrigued, because you didn't have Brezink, you didn't have Hutchins, you didn't have Michael Todd, that kind of carry that. We had the young studs. I was excited when you had the RVJs, the Paul Lynns, Borzinski, Erlet, El Seltzer. I was excited for the young studs, up and coming guys. Not that RVJ is an up and comer, but I mean, what I'm talking about, the youngsters. We didn't have like the wily veterans there, but you still had the star power of Cody Merritt, and you still had star power of Dave Chafee and Devin Larrett. You still had those guys, but then you had the young studs just eager, scratching, clawing, like, hey, I'm ready to go ahead and make a dent in this bad boy. And it was just kind of like, oh my God,
Yeah. Well, I like the match, and this might be one of those matches where RVJ's stock goes up in losing.
Is that true? Is that a thing?
What's that?
Your stock can go up if you lost a match?
100% it can.
I'm just curious, because I tell you what, personally, I feel like I've done shit. I feel like.
Let's use a hypothetical.
Okay.
Let's say I pulled, I don't know, let's use Gennady, for example.
Okay.
Let's say the match lasts longer than 30 seconds, but I lose the match. Does my stock go up?
Well, yeah, if you think of it that way, because it's not a flash pin.
I mean, if it becomes a war of a match against someone that's a huge underdog or not expected to do well, I mean, in this case, we probably expected RVJ to do pretty well. I think he did pretty well. He lost, but after a huge layoff, he comes back and makes a show of it. You know, he hangs in there. It's not as one-sided as the result would indicate.
I just hope that we don't, or not we. I hope we don't see. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I hope RVJ does not take a year and a half off or so again before we see him on the table.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope he's on the next East versus West.
Billy Berg says, Jody, I still want to pull you.
Billy's actually looking good, man. Billy's looking like, I'll give you props, Billy. You've made some big improvements, and you hung in there with some guys that were pretty tough.
I'm not dropping a lot of weight, by the way, just so we're clear. I'm not.
Billy's the same weight as you right now anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, then never mind. We're good. All right. Because I thought it seemed like when Billy lost all that weight, I thought my dude was like 198. I'm like, I ain't fucking dropping to 198 anymore. Let's get that straight. But
he could make 198, but I don't know if he wants to anymore.
I'm not trying to do that. Screw
he
that.
Might have found the winning formula for the weight he's at.
Right.
All right. Now, this match was an anomaly. Okay, Billy's only 207. Close enough. Arifardum versus Georgi Zaranov. This match, Arif went up 2-0 right off the bat. Looked really dominant. Looked like he hurt himself. Or something happened.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, Georgi took over. And Georgi, like, what he looked like physically this time compared to the last time we saw him, he looked like he was bigger, stronger, healthier. Just looked like he was in really good shape. And he came in there and hung in and took back that match 3-2.
Damn.
And I don't know if Arifardum got sick or what, or sick, tired or hurt or what it was, but he lost his fire after match 2. He might have gassed completely or hurt himself, but either way, we had a big comeback. Yeah, Justin says it looked like he got injured.
Wow. There's a question in the chat there, Mr. Ryan, from my man Superman, Carl Stanley. Ryan Espey, are you going to the East versus West finals on June 3rd?
I am not. It's just not in the cards this year. I'm going to Nationals in July, but Carl Stanley, if you're looking for a match, maybe talk to Mr. Monster and see what's up.
Yeah, we got to get the Espey train down there at Hot Springs.
Yeah.
What'd you think about El Cesar's match?
We're gonna get into El Cesar next. It was close, man. Like, there was a couple of times, like, Brandon he showed up, looked like he was well prepared. Did not have any jitters in that environment. I thought he was a huge underdog, and he made a good showing of it.
Right.
He was in the match. There was a lane for him. And then there was a bunch of I think there was some foul trouble in there too at some point, but Brandon looked really good. I'm surprised he didn't get at least one pin. Right. He did well.
Do you think the refereeing was good though?
I didn't really have any issue with it until the one call I was going to tell you about in the final, but
we can get to that, later. So I just wanted to make sure everything was,
And you've probably seen it because there's a lot of still images online. Because
yeah, but I can't really tell. I mean, as far as the still images, it's like a still, so you don't know quite what was going on. But like I said, we could talk to. We can get to that when we get to that match.
Yeah, Brandon looked good, but it was again 3-0.
Wow.
So far, we're not doing so hot. We'll skip that one. We'll go to Laleton versus Sperong, left-handed match.
Now, there's an East versus East match.
That's an East versus East match, but again, 3-0. Pretty dominant. Sperong looks like he's getting stronger and healthier and better, but he's got a ways to go before he pulls the likes of Vitaly Laletin.
It wasn't Tobias coming off an injury.
Yes. Yes,
so
he was.
He took a lot of time off, so he's been coming off an injury. So it's good to see him back, because there was a moment where I kind of forgot about him, actually.
Yeah.
But I'm glad he's back. And, I'll be kind of curious how Ingen picks these matches.
Well, I mean, sometimes you get it right, and they're all like wars that are 3-2. Sometimes you get a card that's dominated by 3-0 finishes, but even with the 3-0 finishes, I still think the matches were more competitive than the result would lend itself to.
Yeah, in the books it looks one way, but in the actual match it was something different. Yeah, I know exactly how that goes. And I say that because how Ingen picks, because there's guys we haven't seen in a bit.
Here's an interesting comment.
What you got? Wow. Okay. Well, there may be something to that, but if I'm not mistaken, is that Corey West versus Morozov match? Has it been set yet?
Was it King of the Table?
No, I think King of the Table is Morozov and Levon, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. And then we got Kurdecha floating around there with the left hand.
Just kind of hanging out. Just how come he hasn't pulled a East versus
West? We got some dark card secret match happening, and it might be happening right now. We don't know. We'll find out later.
How do you know that's not over? But how do you know I don't have the results yet?
It might be over.
Me and Neil like that. So,
Jody, do you have the results? Tell us what they are. Tell us who the opponent is.
It's Craig Sanders. Craig Sanders and Kevin Falco. There you go. There's one card, right?
Here's what I noticed. There was a photo posted of Cody Merritt and Kamil Jablonski. Now, if you're investigating, where do you often see Kamil Jablonski show up? Well, anyone in the chat know? Who's one of his good friends and training partners?
Good question. Dun, dun, dun.
That would be Alex Kurdecha. So the question is Alex Kurdecha, was he floating around the background in Turkey? Maybe en route to somewhere else.
So do I need to call Scooby and Shaggy and Fred, Velma, and Daphne then and bust this case open?
Phil Woody, are the bags packed for the UK? How do you know I'm not there? How do you know I haven't recreated my home office somewhere in the UK?
Now, what I do know is that the next Arm Wars Iron House will be in August. By the way.
Okay.
That I do know. So.
All right. Who have we not talked about? I want to save, we can cover Rivas and Dave Chafee because we'll talk about them right now because honestly, there's not much to talk about. It was pretty dominant. Dave could not avoid the top roll.
Phil Woody said in the comments earlier, if you scroll up,
that he was sporting an injury, I think I saw.
Right. So let me ask you a question, Ryan. Let me ask everybody in the chat a question. And this is nothing against Dave Chafee, but if I have a big match coming up, right, and you have an injury, is it worth going through all that and potentially injuring yourself more? Or is it, out of respect, or just say, hey, you know what? I got this lingering injury, it won't go away. I'm gonna have to bow out. Because is it more disrespectful to go to a big event on a big stage with an injury that you're kind of keeping to yourself? And I'm not saying that, that was the situation with Dave, not at all. But, you don't give it your all because you're kind of like protecting that injury, and then you don't really perform the way you want to perform. Which is worse?
I don't know, man. Probably not worth it to go if you think it's going to impact the outcome of the match. Sometimes you think you could win anyway.
Right.
Yeah, Ingen could have found a replacement. Now, I never heard Dave say that he was injured. So, Dan Plexman says, if you do, don't talk about your injury if you lose. I never heard Dave say he was injured. It was other people that I heard speculating about it.
Yes, Pradeep.
So.
Hey, Pradeep was saying that.
And then there was some talk about Dave's neck injury, but that neck injury is not going away. Like it's something that has haunted him for a long time. Remember when he wore a collar for quite a long time?
Yep, I remember that.
I don't think that neck. I think that's just something he has to deal with. So it's part of life for Dave now.
Phil Woody says Vitaly claimed he had an injury going into his loss against Chafee and wants a rematch.
Okay, now I got a problem because anybody that says I was injured, I want a rematch, they are not entitled to a rematch because they claim they had an injury.
That goes back to my original question. Why
Back
even
in the line?
then?
Yeah.
Is it? Here's a better question. Is it a show of disrespect to your opponent? Because then there's that asterisk, right? Like, oh, yeah, I was injured. So it's like, oh, okay, I won, but my opponent was real injured. So did I really win? There's always that question mark. There's always that asterisk, and then it haunts you, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to pull with an injury, you got to shut up about it.
Yeah.
Don't use it for something else.
It's one thing to say, well, I don't even know if it's even that, but it's one thing to say, yeah, I went in there with an injury. I gave it the best I could. I thought I had a couple of corners I could have made, a couple of lanes I could have, exposed, but it didn't go my way. I'm okay with that rather than, hey, I lost while I was injured. Then, go that route,
Yeah. ZB says Gennady made an excuse against Jerry. I don't recall that, but I often don't pay attention to all of the stuff they say after.
Oh, the post interviews?
Yeah.
Well,
I remember when I was in Columbus for the Arnold Classic,
and
I went to the UFC, and Randy Couture fought Tim Sylvia for the heavyweight title. And after he was beat, Tim Sylvia had an interview in the middle of the cage and said he had a back injury and he just about got booed out of the building.
Ryan, it's these one-on-one sports because now we live, and that's it. We live in a weird society, by the way, with social media and all that kind of stuff. And if it's team ball, football, basketball, hockey, whatever, baseball, and your team loses, it's always the first thing you do when you lose, you find a scapegoat. Whether that be a coach, player, whatever, referee, you always find a scapegoat. But when it's one-on-one, it's just you. You can't blame nobody else. And some people still reach to, I'm going to blame the referee or whatever. My thing is have the wherewithal to say, hey, you know what? Guy's better than me. I got no issues with having a match and I lose. And all of a sudden, the guy was just flat out better than me. So, I'll give you two examples. Russ Schrader, just flat out better than me, right? Stronger than me. Nothing I can do, right? We'll go back to my Arm Wars match, the only one that's out there right now. The guy from Romania, just straight out, just flat out, he's an elite puller, Jack Lee beat me. It is what it is, I'm not going to sit there and start, making up stories or, oh, well, yeah, I was sore or I had a hangnail or what. I'm not going to do that. It's just the guy's better than me, just what it is. And so I'm okay to admit that, hey, I got slapped in the face and the guy was better than me. That's just what it is. Now I got to keep on going, So I don't know if everyone's like that, but it's just one of those deals,
Yeah. Now, this is a good point because it looked like Dave was trying to get to the strap and just was unable to.
Right.
Which is pretty incredible.
Well, and I was hoping, because I didn't see the event. I'm thinking, is Dave going to bust out with that flop wrist? But of course, he had to do that in the strap, though, right?
Well, it looked like he was trying to in the final match.
Right. Have we talked about? There's 2 matches we haven't talked about yet. We haven't talked about Paul Lynn and Sasha.
We got 3.
Well, I meant aside from the main event.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, Paul Lynn versus Sasha. Now we think we have something where, the West is going to do well. Right. And honestly, this one could have went either way because it very well could have went Paul Lynn 3-0. Just had a thimble full of gas more in his tank. Right. He would have won that third match. But Paul Lynn looked awesome. That was the kind of match that you want to see throughout the card, right?
Right.
Oh, Dan Plexman, we got a super chat we must address. Post interviews are difficult for an athlete. It's pretty difficult to talk with clarity when adrenaline is pumping and dumping. And that is why they stopped interviewing guys that had been knocked out in the UFC. They stopped doing the loser interviews.
Is that like right after the event or the press conference?
Right after in the cage type stuff.
No, do that stuff in the press. Here's the thing. You should never do that anyway. You should do that in the press conference.
Yeah.
Because like you said, adrenaline's going. But if I'm in the cage and I just got rocked, I'm trying to gather my bearings. Where am I at? Where's my training team? Where's my wife or whatever the case may be? And let me do that in the press conference because then I have gathered everything because it's legit. Where you do right after you got knocked out, you're probably going, you don't want to look stupid because again, we live in this weird society. It's going to get all over social media and that guy can't talk and this, that, and the other. He's stuttering. It's like, let the guy, take a shower, gather his thoughts, and then go from there. Because then that's the most realist you can get, Now,
I think Paul Lynn, he's another guy that you could say is his stock went up in a loss.
Yeah.
There is some, there's some small little things that could have changed the outcome of that match. Some people are talking about some referees, some restarts, a bad start where he fought a little too hard. He could have laid down and saved it for match 4 or whatever. Hindsight's 20/20. I think he thought he had it. And when Sasha put the brakes on him, just a little bit too high, it let him turn it around and come back and win that match 3-2.
Right.
Yeah, Joe Nelson says, Paul looked like he came out of position in the third round trying to finish. Small, minuscule mistake. That's how close it was. And Paul looks like what an athlete should aspire to be in arm wrestling. Like he looks like an athlete. He carries himself like a professional. He is technically proficient and strong as hell, and we will see him back in a title shot at some point. I'm sure of it.
GB says Paul shouldn't have come out celebrating so hard after the first win. Did I miss something on that one?
Well, when guys do an excessive celebration and stuff, sometimes the adrenaline just goes away.
Right.
Maybe that's what he's talking about.
Dan Willie said.
Yeah,
he did blow his load, celebrate after match 2, I think. Yeah. Well, you got to stay calm and do all that stuff when you win. Then it's like, all right, but yeah, you don't want no adrenaline dump. That's the one thing you don't want. So,
yeah. What I'm curious about and what this made me think of is, like MMA math. This guy can beat this guy, but he can't beat this guy, but so can the other guy. That stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking about Paul Lynn and pulling Sasho, and then I'm thinking about when RVJ pulled Sasho, and I'm thinking about the result if Paul Lynn and RVJ got together now, as opposed to, how long has it been since they've pulled? At least a few years.
Yeah.
Pre-pandemic.
Paul's a different person now than he was then.
Yes. But that's kind of what I used as a measuring stick going into this, was the RVJ match, and the fact that Sasho could be such a larger individual, because Sasho is a little guy. Like he is, he looks.
What's he, like 5'8"?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like 5'8". I mean, he's built wide, but you can still just see the compact. He's like, like I said, 5'8", give or take, something like that.
Yeah.
What about that Armwrestling, huh?
Well, this question here.
5'6". Holy shit.
Where did it go? There's so many comments coming today that here's one. Do you think the measurements of the arm wrestlers are inflated?
Yes.
Sasha, everyone's saying he's 5'5". I wonder if King is going to do the head measurement again.
It's that football, like in the football programs, you're like 6'5", but yet you go to combine, you're like 6'3" 3/4.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that.
Or pro wrestling, where Hulk Hogan's, 6'10".
Right. Wasn't Kane like 7 foot, but yet if you saw his wrestling boot, they're kind of like thick, right? Thick soles. Yeah. So it made him look taller. I mean, he's a tall guy regardless, but it's like, the wrestling boots made him look tall because he has those thick sole inserts or whatever, Like like Justin said, like Taker is like 7 foot tall.
Yeah. No,
I mean, he's a big dude. I've seen him walk against other people. I mean, he's a big dude, but I don't know,
Yeah. And then you said Irakli Zirakashvili versus Kirdigali Ongrabayev. Ongrabayev, this is the match. I believe I picked Ongrabayev to win this one because I generally don't pick against him. I think he's a killer.
Yes.
It went about the way I thought it would go. Competitive.
So did they buy him a car this time?
We don't know. But I want to know now. Like it happened 2 days ago. What's waiting for him when he gets home?
Yeah. Well, when he beat John, he got an apartment, didn't he?
Yes. Well, there's that. Who got the truck? Levon got the truck, didn't he?
Something like that.
He gave it to his coach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ongrabayev looked good. He looked good technically. He looked good. He looked strong. It'll be a while before anyone takes that title off of him.
Is he 105 kilos?
I believe so, yeah. Okay. Light heavyweight. So, yeah, I think that's the 105.
Right.
And, I mean, my God, it wasn't that long ago that he was in the top 8 against super heavyweights and doing well.
It almost seemed like he was bigger then. And now he came down and, you know what? This is where I need to be. I'm going to crush everybody. Because, he was that guy with the Levons and the Breslins and the Babayevs and the Trubins and all those guys in the top 8. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Somebody mentioned in here. Justin wants to see him with Prudnick. Yeah, me too.
So
that's a great match.
So again, we got so many people on these cards now. It makes me wonder where is everybody at now? Where's we haven't seen Kradeka pull at all on that. We haven't seen Prudnick ever since he lost to Devin. I mean, obviously, I guess you could say reasons why we haven't seen Matt Mask, reasons why we haven't seen Derek Smith, but there's a guy out there in the States, and I haven't seen him in a while, and I'm wondering why. Marcio Barboza. Why haven't we seen him back?
Last I heard, Marcio Like he seems to get injured more frequently these days. Like he's pulled out of a couple of things, but I don't know. I don't know why he's not involved. Didn't he get injured the last time he was at East versus West or King of the Table? One of those two?
I think the last time I saw him pull, and I could be wrong, people, but didn't he pull Gasparini at East versus West? Or was it somebody else?
I don't remember.
See, it's been so long. I can't figure it out. I bet I can find it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
well,
so it's
just so we're done talking about East versus West, right? Nothing else to talk about?
I think so.
Oh, hey, there's one more match. Before we get to that match, have you noticed that the World Arm Wrestling League has been posting more stuff on social media?
What's going on now? Do I need to check my email? Where are they posting now?
I think they posted something about Sarah. It was either yesterday or today.
Mm-hmm.
Tagged her in it, the whole deal.
Wow.
And then the people in the comments, like, the real question is, does WAL still exist? And there's no response to any of the comments.
Is that a bunch of smoke and mirrors?
But what would be the purpose?
Because the way we see things now in the arm wrestling world, if they're going to come back, they better come back with a vengeance. But are you going to can I use the word poach?
Yeah.
If they came back and they want to be relevant, are you going to start poaching people from East versus West and King of the Table? Because if you do, then we're back to the same thing we had the first time around. It's the same people over and over again. Like,
Well, yeah. Anyway, we'll see. We'll monitor what they do.
Dave, what the hell is WAL?
Billy, what was my highlight of provincials? It's what it's been the last few years, watching my daughter compete, and the takeaway is we've got work to do.
How'd she finish?
And up with 2 bronze medals.
Okay. I mean, that's podium.
It's podium, yeah. And now we're getting ready for nationals, and we have our tickets booked. So
good. And you'll be there, yes?
Yes, I will. I'll be having a battle with Earl Wilson in the Masters. I'm going to go right into his power.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah.
I like
Let's
that.
talk about the final match, the main event. Devin Larratt versus Gennady Kvikvinya. Now, where do you want to begin? How about the one call that I thought affected the outcome of the match?
I saw
because
pictures.
It happened in the first match.
I saw where there's all these pictures where somebody's shoulder was like this in the start and no one would straighten it. I'm just trying to figure out. It's just a picture, so I don't know at what point did that even start. I don't know if he did this and then the ref said straighten it. Then I don't know. So it's kind of hard to see, on a setup where someone's shoulders are, and at what point in time was that? You know.
So I mean, Dan Woodley says they're tough on Devin's shoulder placement. Devin was really starting with his shoulder in, but so was Gennady. But the difference is Devin would be like arguing with them about, these guys got exactly what I was going to say. Devin would argue with them every time they told him to do something. And it really made the referees, I think what Devin normally does is rattle the refs. I think this time it backfired, where they're so focused on him that, he didn't get away with a lot. However, in match number 1, the Phantom Foul, I did not see Devin foul, but before they called that foul, I clearly saw Gennady foul.
Did they go look at the camera?
It doesn't seem to be a replay as an option there.
What?
King of the Table, they do. But I clearly saw Gennady's elbow come up before Devin got called on his foul. That, I believe, was the second foul for Devin in that match. And it was Gennady's first win.
I got a question. Why is it that in King of the Table, to get the call right, they look at the camera, whereas East versus West are like the refs step away from the table and they talk amongst themselves? I'm just kind of curious.
Right. Justin, I'm not arguing that Devin fouled or not. I'm saying someone else fouled first. Now, I don't know why they do that video. Probably because there's 3 matches on a card at King of the Table and there's 12 at East versus West. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, they got the cameras on the corners. They got the camera up top.
Yeah.
They got cameras everywhere. So,
and they need that for that kind of a thing. So, yeah, and Dan Woodley says the event would be 50 hours long. Yeah. Okay, Justin says it was the first foul. The second foul was Gennady. Went Jerry. Okay, right. Yeah, the second one was when he pushed him off. That being said, it was off the hit. So, even in correcting that, Devin was in such a good position when they called that foul that I think he probably would have taken match 1. It's reasonable to think that Devin would have won match 1. And that would have changed the outcome of the whole match.
It would have?
Well, it would have been, if you didn't change any of the next 3 or 4 matches, Devin would have won 3 matches to 2.
Right.
Well, it would have been 3-1, actually, I think.
Here's a question from Joe Nelson. He says Ingen went from 16 matches to 12 and still took about the same amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, here's the other thing. It doesn't appear to take that long when you got Travis Page in the booth. Like,
so how much time do they get in between matches? I'm just curious.
Didn't seem to be very much.
Okay.
The guy was using the 10-second forward thing to skip in between the rounds.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not stop the match at all when I watched the Devin and Gennady one, because in that match in particular, apparently there's 3 minutes. In that match in particular, the stuff in between rounds matters.
Was Jody on stage?
No. She was not. You could hear her from time to time, but you could tell she was a distance away.
Right.
Now, the shocking thing to me was, and this makes sense at the time, but it didn't make sense as I was watching it, because makes sense in real time, but not if you know the outcome, is when Travis is talking about how, no one's going to outstamina Devin, and that's like rational thinking, because no one usually does. But if you watch closely, Devin is like breathing very heavy right away, and Gennady is not at all.
Okay, so does that mean that, when Devin fluctuates in weight, does that take a toll on you?
I don't know, because even though he was big, he also looked like he was in better condition than when he went up against Levon. Like, he looked really lean as well.
Because he wasn't like bulky like he was. Remember when Devin got to 293 or something like that, and he pulled Michael Todd in King of the Table 1? Remember that?
Yeah.
And he just looked just super blocky, Yeah. He didn't look like that.
Yeah. But I mean, you know what? I would have been, if I would have at any point in that match, you told me that Devin was up 2 matches, I would have bet my house, or that he even had 2 wins and it was still going.
Mm-hmm.
I would have bet my house that he would have won that match. And I would be homeless right now.
I think we'll all be homeless right now.
Yeah.
Oh, did you see Dan Willie's comment? Dan says, did anyone notice the bruise on Devin's left bicep? What are you talking about, man? How you know that didn't happen at Arm Wars already? What the hell are you talking about?
He might have torn that against Kurdecha, left-handed. I doubt that. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
so where do we go from here? As far as, looks like somebody named Unger Bob is just sitting pretty. Gennady beats Devin, which means, Levon's going to buy him something, because that seems to be the thing these days. You get Joel Embiid, NBA League MVP, and then James Harden, his teammate, buys him a watch. and he hasn't been playing up to his standards. And meanwhile,
Yeah.
Nikola Jokic is dropping 50 points a game, damn near. And now that Gennady beat Devin, does that mean he gets what? Is he getting a car? What's he getting?
Well, I want to address this little comment right here.
Okay.
The difference is Gennady's foul was a little jump. I thought it was a significant jump. But, I mean, nobody's going to accuse me of showing favoritism to Devin Larratt if you know me at all.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know where you go from here. I mean, Gennady, now there is a narrative that has been put out there by other channels that Michael Todd is way better than we think he is because of how good he did in comparison against Gennady or in comparison to Rivas.
Yeah, but that's one of those A beats B,
Yeah.
And B beats C, but C can beat A. It's one of those situations because that's when it goes back to styles make matches, right?
Well, yeah. Now, what do you do with Gennady at this point?
Well, there's guys out there because there's we still got Jerry Caderet. He's set to pull was the East First West number 8, right?
Does Gennady at some point get a title shot against Levon? And would he do it?
Don't they training partners?
Okay. I got to go back to this because it was insignificant. He didn't gain any position. I don't buy that. When there is an elbow foul that is high, despite the arms not moving side to side, there is a position gained. Or at very least, you have stopped somebody from doing something.
So explain what they're talking about, just so I can kind of get a visual.
Let me see if I can find the photo, because I bet you it's not going to be that hard to find. And I'll share the screen.
So you're saying that was it a bunny hop, or did you hey, it's up there?
I didn't know that foul had happened.
Yeah.
So what I'm kind of going off of is, the fact that I noticed it so significantly while I was watching it in real time.
Because,
Okay, this is not the best image of it. But
Gennady's elbow looks like it was.
I am going to share this.
They have 2 inches off the pad. Ooh, that's a foul's a foul. Oh, we got a split screen share time. All right, let's go.
This is about what it is, right? So you can clearly see that there's no contact between that elbow and the pad. Now, it was higher than that. This is just the still image that was caught, right?
Right.
Now, this is also where they're saying Devin's elbow came off the back of the pad.
Wow.
He doesn't look like he's close at all to the back of the pad.
No, it looks like he planted his. If I know Devin in that position right there, what it looks like is Devin put all his weight on that elbow, got his shoulder commitment, and got into that hook. That's what it looks like. And it's kind of hard to elbow off the back of the pad when you put all your weight on your elbow and then you go shoulder commitment. That looks pretty.
Oh, look at this. What? Look what I just found.
What is going on here?
This is the Umesh. This is in Canada.
Is this real?
This is real.
Wow.
I'm just scrolling through all kinds of Facebook nonsense. So there's a photo of
yeah, that's the one right there that
the
got sent to me.
Yeah, Dave's still having a good time. That's good. He looks good.
Yeah. So, I look at it like this. When you plant your elbow, right, and you go shoulder commitment, it makes it hard to elbow off the back unless he was floating his elbow.
I don't know, man. It's hard to say. But when I saw it, thought, oof. And then I saw Jake Shields' arm wrestling. Okay. Yeah, I thought that, I thought that little call could have changed the outcome of that whole match. But somebody asked, or you asked me, does his stock go up or down? Devon's?
I'm kind of curious.
I think it stays flat.
Does it ever go down though? I mean, his stock didn't go down when he lost to LeBron 6-0 because, it's LeBron. So I don't think his stock ever went down.
It would take a couple of significant losses. It would take a pretty big skid, I think, because Devon's got the option of dropping to the lower weight class where he's the champ.
But even he said, though, if you read some of his, even he says, he could, but then there's no competition there.
Yeah.
Which is not wrong until somebody just comes out of blue where it just blows doors off. I will say,
you're going to tell me you wouldn't tune in for an Ungerbayev Devon Larratt match?
I mean, I would, just to see how Ungerbayev does against him, but it's like, can Devon even get to that? Does it benefit him to get to that 231 pound weight? Just being honest, because we know he can. That was back like 6 years ago when WAL had the 4 weight classes. He was pulling a 225.
I suppose.
I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, what Jay say, he's not wrong. I mean, Devon can lose 6-0 against anybody. Well, yeah, he has nothing to prove, right? It's true, I mean, think about it. If Ungerbayev is 105 kgs, and in the East versus West, the next weight class up, Devon's the champ, and he comes down, why would you sit there and put your body through all that weight cutting and bulking up? Why would you do that, though? I mean, constantly.
I mean, here's the other thing with Devon. Like, he was in the match so well with a world elite super heavyweight.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like, the first 6 matches on this card where there were blowouts. I think everyone right until the end thought Devon was going to win that match.
Right.
Right until he didn't. Now, I see some mixed things in here about Ungerbayev, but I don't know what it is. I would like to see that match against Devon Larratt.
Question. This is where everybody's going to jump on my case and make fun of me and call me names. And I don't know if this is even possible. What if somebody got down to that weight class? Could he compete? And when I say this person, what if Matt Mask got down to 231?
Compete against who?
Ungerbayev.
No, I don't think so. No. Well, I'll use Sandris as the example of what would happen, because Sandris is naturally that weight.
Right.
I don't think it's competitive. I think there's.
Is Todd Hutchins competitive at that?
I think both those guys you mentioned probably would sit somewhere around outside the top 8 for sure.
Yeah.
I don't see it as competitive. I mean, we saw what happened with a ton of those guys like Sonev, like Sandris. I don't know. Anyway, Devon's still competing at the elite level at super heavyweight at nearly 50 years old. So, I mean, how can you fault him for that? He's
right.
And I thought he was still a dick to the refs, but I think they handled it well.
I tell you what, with this battleground dark card coming up involving Devon, left hand, by the way, I know the refs over there. They don't put up with that. So, yeah, I will say that the refs, the referees at Arm Wars do not put up with that. So,
well, you had WAF master refs at this event. I think they did a good job, and I think Engen once again knocked it out of the park.
Ooh, interesting question by GB. He said, will Devin change his training?
No.
Now, and I think why he's saying that is because I caught Pradeep, Armwrestling News, say a couple things about Devin was more focused on his hand training and not so much on his arm training, which, according to Pradeep, said Devin lacked the arm strength.
I mean, at this point, it's Devin would not want to hear this, but it's late in the game, man. Like, you're not gonna. It's not like you're going to completely reinvent yourself. He can get stronger in those positions. Maybe he neglected it. To me, his arm looked bigger and stronger than it has in a long time. I just think he had a guy attacking him in a position that eventually wore him out.
He found the key to unlock the lock.
Yeah. I mean, Devin's got options. He can always compete in a lower class.
Right.
If he's the man there, then continue to be the man there. There are challengers. There are. I mean, we did something to Sanders we never thought we'd see, but there's still competition down there.
But see, here's the thing. Even though Devin did that to Sanders, for me personally, it doesn't mean that Sanders' stock has dropped either. You know, I will say this, though. It must be pretty you must be a badass where you can sit there and do both weight classes at a certain event.
Yeah.
Does that punk out some of the guys in the supers going, well, Devin's your heavyweight at this weight class, and now he's jumping up. Does he step on toes in front of people who are already at that super heavyweight class?
Nah. Just beat him.
Yeah, just beat him. You know? But I tell you what, though, I'm still looking forward to that, Corey West and that has to be made, right?
Yeah, it does.
Morozov and Corey West. Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. Let's go.
Yeah.
And is that on the same card as Gasparini and Cataret?
I don't know, man. I haven't been focused on it, but I'm going to now. Now that this one is passed, it is time to.
I think King of the Table is next, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that's the Morozov versus Levon match.
Yeah. Can't wait.
And yeah, Phil Woody. Yeah, King of Table 7 has been confirmed. There was somebody else on there too. That's just like wow.
Yeah.
Who the hell was it? I can't remember. It was a good match, a good matchup, and I can't remember. Oh, Devin and Chafee. Duh.
If it's still going to happen, we'll see.
Well,
if Dave's injured, it could be in jeopardy.
Right.
If it truly is, yeah.
I was just going to say that. I mean, if his injuries are like that severe, are you really, I just don't want Dave to go up there and then, not be his top form self because of his injury. That's what I worry about.
Yeah. Well, my friend, time to jump off for another week.
Yeah.
All
sorry.
Right,
sorry for Chad Shaw. Your Florida Panhandle event did not get a bunch of love because it happened to be on the same day as East vs. West, and it got sandwiched in between that and Ryan Bowen's event. So sorry about that. Apologize, all you Florida guys. Apologize for that. So
yeah.
Yes, great job at provincials to your daughter. Congratulations, she made the podium. So
right on.
There you go,
right, buddy. Get some sleep.
Oh, I have to work today too, so I got to get a workout in before I do anything. So we're good. We're good.
Better burn out than fade away.
Exactly. Everybody, thanks for joining the show. As always, we'll be back here next Monday morning because then I'll be off the heels of Mother's Day. All right.
Right on, buddy.
Take care.